Hello and welcome to Tech Craic, the podcast series brought to you by Sync NI, Northern Ireland's leading technology and business media company. This podcast series will see us speak with some of the best, brightest and influential thought leaders from across our local tech sector. Visit syncni.com and follow us across our social media channels to find out more. Enjoy!
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Tech Craic Podcast with Sync NI. I am joined today by Michelle Simpson, who of course is the head of pen testing at Vertical Structure. Thanks so much for joining us today, Michelle.
Thank you, Catherine. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Well, I thought to kick things off, we could start off by, if you could summarise for our listeners what your role involves at Vertical Structure and what your sort of day-to-day role involves.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm head of pen testing at Vertical Structure, running a team of brilliant pen testers. So my role now involves a little less of the hands-on pen testing side of things, a little more juggling. We were talking about juggling earlier. Yeah. So typical day, I always like to start my day with a plan, outlining kind of what my priorities are and what meetings I have, what things I don't want to forget. And then I'll jump into some client work, maybe do some report QA. So I'll review one of the team's pen test reports and send back any comments that I have. I'll have a bunch of meetings with clients or maybe internal project management meetings to catch up on progress and where everyone's at. We also do a stand-up at the beginning of every day so that with the team, so that we can identify any blockers, any issues, anyone has any questions. Gets us all on the same page at the start of the day, which is great. I'll sometimes have one-to-ones with my team for looking at any challenges they have, how their month has been, any ways I can support them in achieving their goals. And I'll occasionally do an interview or talk at a school or get involved with webinars or things like that as well.
Brilliant, yes. Yes, that's the thing. It sounds like your day varies, so much from day to day, but it's great. We've seen Sync and I has obviously been at numerous events where you have been speaking as a panelist, and it's so great to get out there and sort of, spread the message of getting into tech, especially for sort of young women and young girls as well. That's brilliant. And on that note, would you like to talk us through your career to date, including what sort of initially inspired you to get into technology?
Yeah, well, I kind of laugh. I think my career sort of started when I was about 11. My uncle sells office equipment and supplies. He had a briefcase that he had sold a customer and it was locked and he couldn't get into it. So he brought it to me, and I always just loved puzzles. So he thought, I'll set Michelle on it. And it was one of those combination locks with three and three. So I just said, okay, I'll start at 0000000. So what we know is a brute force attack against a login. So little did I know at the age of 11 that this would be a career for me, which was interesting. Another kind of key moment was an aunt's boyfriend said I loved art and maths in school. I thought, you'd be good in computers. So I just thought, okay, I'll give that a go. That sounds interesting. I didn't want to do anything traditional like teaching, medicine, business, anything like that. And I didn't really know. So I did software engineering in Dublin City University for 4 years. And then I loved security modules and I loved crypto. There was a girl from Accenture who came to speak to the class who had done the security masters in DCU, and I thought that sounded really fun, so I did that. And during the security masters then one of the guys in my class actually was a pen tester in Ernst & Young in EY. And they came and they took 3 people from the course. So I interviewed and I got hired onto the pen testing team at EY. So I was with EY for 7 years. I did a range of kind of different technical roles. I did some pen testing, I did IT audit, IT forensics, investigations and analysis, bunch of different things. It was a fantastic experience. And then I did specialize in pen testing then, and I was moving because I was getting married, moved to Belfast. And they didn't have a team in Belfast, so I got in touch with a recruiter and found a role with NCC Group that was more perfect for what I wanted to do than I even imagined. NCC was specialised, while EY is an accounting firm and a small pen testing team. NCC was specialised in security and pen testing, so I was joining a team of 250. And it was absolutely fantastic. So I got to like deep technical dive there and really hone my technical skills as a pen tester, specialising in web applications and APIs and things like that. So really fantastic experience. Was there for 9 years.
Brilliant.
And then I moved to Vertical Structure as the head of a smaller pen testing team. And a really interesting move because I had been quite big corporate background with EY and NCC.
Exactly.
Two global organisations, and Vertical Structure is a small local homegrown company in Belfast. I had come across Simon initially. When I moved to Belfast, I started the OWASP chapter with the guy Gary Robinson. Two of us started the chapter, and Simon was one of our first sponsors. Vertical Structure sponsored the monthly meetups with pizza and drinks. So I'd known Simon for quite a while. We'd crossed paths, and then it was really exciting to join his team and to take on the role of heading up the pen testing team.
Yes, brilliant. And you're obviously really enjoying it. You know, your passion for the role really shines through. Yeah, that's awesome. And with women making up just 23% of the tech industry in Northern Ireland, did you ever struggle at all working within such a male-dominated industry, or did it actually make you feel more determined to work your way up and be that example for young girls and young women? Obviously, you mentioned sort of you would go out to a lot to schools, and you're regularly a panelist on different sort of seminars and things. That quote sort of springs to mind: "You can't be what you can't see."
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. So I guess I wouldn't say I struggled in a male-dominated environment. I've struggled with people along the way. General thing. I think what was possibly a challenge, maybe unknown to myself for a long time, was the lack of visibility of people like me that I could look up to. So there was that girl from Accenture. I don't even know who she was or what her name was. And that was quite a critical moment for me, you know, to step into that security area. And I literally thought when I saw her, oh, she can do it, I can do it. That was
exactly.
the reason I did the Masters. And then I was really quite camera shy naturally. Don't like the limelight, so I've held back a lot over the years and kind of hidden my bunker pen testing away, and I haven't been involved very, very publicly until recently. And literally a few years ago, my daughter came home from school with a leaflet for football classes in the local leisure centre with all women on the leaflet, and she had refused to go to any football classes in school because they were boys, but she was adamant that she wanted to go to this, and it just hit home to me how powerful female representation was, and it just felt like a bit of a kick up the bum. Right, I have to. I've been crying out for years, wanting to get more women into security. I did some talks at schools, but I said, right, I need to change things up a gear. And Simon has been absolutely incredible in kind of empowering me and encouraging me, volunteering me for different things that to get out and speak. And so I've just been doing a lot more of that. And then I guess, like, interestingly for me too, there was that girl from Accenture, but then in my master's class, out of a class of 25, there was 7 females, which was quite a reasonable kind kind of balance. Then in my team in EY, there were 2 girls out of about 5 or 6 in the team, which was quite good. And then I moved to NCC, and at the time, I think I'm pretty sure I was the first female pen tester in the company of about a team of about 250. So it kind of dwindled, and it has gone up and down, and there's a lot more now, thankfully. But I didn't have anybody in my role that I could look up to that was a female, you know, and it does make a difference. It really does,
definitely.
To see somebody like you that you can see doing something, it's different, and men and women are different. I get in trouble for saying some things, but how we approach things, how our brains work, there's lots of things. It's fairly evident in this field, but I'm a firm believer in different perspectives bringing something different to the table. We do need more diverse teams and more diverse environments, so I'm a huge advocate for it. And it's not that women in security and cyber don't exist, because I've learned, I did an Empowering Women to Lead in Cyber course last year, leadership course, and I was just gobsmacked at the amount of women in Belfast who are in cyber roles. Maybe not pen testing specifically, but touching on it and, you know, exposed to it, and in a lot of different cyber roles, and it's absolutely incredible. But I don't think we're as visible.
Exactly. That's the thing. And it's that visibility, isn't it? That's so important. As you say, it is just, even with the likes of your daughter coming home and just seeing that other women are doing this, you know, even playing the likes of football, it is an empowering moment to sort of see yourself almost being represented, and it encourages you then to reach out and do that yourself. So it's so important for young girls and women as well to see the likes of yourself. And on that note, speaking of sort of mentors and inspiration growing up, you sort of touched upon it already, but was there a particular sort of inspiration or role model in your life growing up that really encouraged you to sort of enter into the tech field and cybersecurity in particular?
Do you know, there really wasn't.
No.
At all.
Yes.
I had nobody technical around me whatsoever. I tried. I loved puzzles. I loved kind of tinkering with the computer, but cluelessly, because I didn't have anyone to guide me. Nobody in my house had a clue. When I was going to university, when I was starting college, my dad, bless him, he sent me on an ECDL course. And for anyone who doesn't know, that's Microsoft's European Computer Driving License from way back when. So I spent a week or 2, I can't remember, learning how to use Excel and Word, you know, and then started university and was doing C programming and assembly code and electronical, you know, diodes and things. It was so far off the mark. But hilarious. But I managed to get on with it anyway.
But that's the thing, and you mentioned Simon, like in particular, you must have found so many you must have come across so many different people throughout your career, perhaps, that sort of almost take on, like, not a mentorship role capacity per se, but sort of just encourage you to sort of maybe go outside your comfort zone and sort of maybe say, potentially do your public speaking and things like that. It must be so important as well.
There's been a few. I had a buddy I was assigned when I started in EY, who was absolutely fantastic, and helped me massively. And my boss when I joined there was brilliant. A couple of my managers, absolutely brilliant to work for. And then in NCC, there was just such an incredible array of talent, and everybody was so empowering, so helpful, so encouraging. And I mean, Simon and the team at Vertigo Structure have been incredible as well.
No, that's brilliant. And in general, pen testing seems extremely popular at the moment, in that a lot of people seem to want to get into the field. Can you explain to our listeners who are perhaps younger, they're maybe less experienced, but tech enthusiasts who may not have entered into the industry yet, but would love to know more about what exactly a pen tester does, and also how they can actually increase their sort of chances of employability within the field as well?
Yeah. I'm not surprised,
Yeah.
everybody, I'm hearing the same thing. Everybody wants, it feels like everybody wants to get into pen testing. The thing is, it's not an entry level job. It's
Yeah.
not an entry level role to do. And there's a reason for that. It's people's security. It's really important to get
Exactly.
it right.
Yeah.
The standard in the UK is extremely high. We have to check government standard that we adhere to, and it's rigorous. And with good reason.
Exactly. It needs to be.
It needs to be. So people doing the work really need to know their stuff. So that's not to say that it's not accessible. It is. It's just people need to understand and manage their expectations around how to get into it. If you've been working and you have other experience, you're not going to just start on the job and start pen testing right away. There's a training, shadowing period where you need to really get a look and see what people are doing. There's some need to know things. There's absolutely need to know or learn fast, foundational understanding of operating systems, programming languages, networks, databases, to understand the underlying concepts with what you're testing, breaking, working on. Need to know the legal implications of what you're doing. The Computer Misuse Act, we need explicit authorization to test any systems. And in saying that, there's loads of fantastic resources now online that were not available when I started. Like, in my opinion, like playgrounds for people to try out their skills. There's the likes of hackthebox.eu and tryhackme.com. These websites have online platforms. You can sign up for a free account and go in and try all the challenges. There's so much information online. YouTube can teach you almost everything that you need to know to get into pen testing. So I guess just understand your expectations. You're not going to be, there's an upskill requirement, so there's investment needed in you if you haven't done it before. So companies are going to have to spend money, time with you. As much as you can do yourself before that is fantastic. Certifications are good, but they're not the be all and end all. Practical experience is brilliant. If you're finding it really difficult, I would say to people to get into a pen testing role, just don't wait, get into a different role. So many skills are useful. I went straight into pen testing, but I've been working 17 years in it now. It took me time to get learning, to get up to speed. But I always thought that if I could have benefited if I'd worked as a developer beforehand, because I'm breaking systems that if I had spent more time building them, I would probably understand them a bit better. Also, I think IT admin type roles are fantastic because you're just getting to know the ins and outs and workings of networks and computers and everything that you need to know. I think my IT forensics background has been really helpful with getting under the hood of the computer and understanding how things work that way. So it doesn't have to be a straight line into pen testing. Go around it if you're not getting straight there, I would say, and keep asking questions. There's resources online. Be intentional, and because there's so much information now, it can be overwhelming. So be intentional. Portswigger Academy is worth mentioning as well. One of the biggest tools we use for web application testing is Burp Suite, and they have an academy free online that you can go on and you can practice all the different things as well. If someone's been through that and kind of know how that works, it's helpful. So there's loads.
Yeah, exactly. It just sounds like, as you say, that hands-on practical experience is so vital. And if you're really into it, it seems like something, that you can just work away and practice on with all these brilliant free resources. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's absolutely brilliant. That's great advice. And in terms of with Christmas just around the corner, what advice would you have for avoiding online scams? What should our listeners be aware of? But also, most importantly, what advice should we perhaps be giving to older relatives who might not be sort of, as tech savvy and then therefore are particularly sort of vulnerable to those online scams?
This is a great question. It's so prevalent. It's such a big issue at the moment. And there's this girl. She's known as the cybersecurity girl on Instagram. Her name is Caitlin Sarian. Yeah. She has absolutely fantastic resources for this kind of thing, and she's two acronyms that I'll share. One is SAFE, for safe online shopping. The S is for checking there's a secure connection, so your HTTPS, the site is secure. A is analyze the URL, look and see is there anything dodgy about it. So like a funny looking A or a 0 instead of an O, those kind of things, or if it just has lots of really strange garbage that looks confusing. Steer clear. Then find reviews, F for find reviews. So look, just Google the website name, reviews, and you'll get hits. Like sometimes you'll get hits, oh, this is a scam. Don't use them,
Yes,
so steer
exactly.
clear of those. And then E was evaluate the content of the website. So look and see, are the images pixelated? Do they look off? Is there any grammar, spelling mistakes that would kind of suggest it's not legitimate? And also look for contact details. On the website, because if it doesn't have proper contact details, it's it's going to be hard to contact them as well if you have an issue. So that's the safe one. And then scam is S for step back, don't act urgently. So a lot of the scams have a sense of urgency about them.
Yes.
So that's
really
definitely
interesting
something
one
to watch out for. Confirm the contact. So if it's bank contacting you, look for like the normal number you call them on, or like try reply out of the method you've been contacted by. SCA was avoid clicking links if you can. Of course, and just that it makes sense. If it's too good to be true, then it's probably not. Or if there's anything just niggling at you about it, just hold fire. Hold off.
Exactly.
One other thing then is to try and avoid using debit cards online. There's a risk of a compromised debit card, that your bank account could be emptied out, whereas credit cards have a lot more protection. So that's
interesting. Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. Yes, absolutely. And it seems like with sort of, with the development of AI and the advancement of AI, that sort of these scams are becoming a lot more advanced and they're a lot more professional, and people could be forgiven definitely for thinking that they're legitimate. But as you say, if you take a beat and maybe look at the person, where it has come from, sometimes that email address or something might not be from the official place, and it's just looking out for those small things that can give it away.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, Catherine, actually, because they are so convincing. Everybody and anybody can get caught at the wrong moment. So there seems to be a big issue as well with shame associated with being scammed. And I've just read so many things. If you think you have been scammed, just reach out quickly, because don't hold back out of feeling ashamed, because that's when it can get worse, and the sooner that you do something about it, the better.
Exactly. It can happen to us all. Exactly. 100%. That's brilliant advice. And then that leads us on to I wanted to find out more about what does quantum crypto mean for security? What is happening, and how can organizations prepare?
So I love crypto. So for anybody who doesn't know, quantum computing is under development, and it may still be a decade away from being mass produced, but there are huge breakthroughs in development on a regular basis. So we don't really know when it's going to happen. And what it means is an exponential increase in computing power, computer processing power. So for encryption, and everything that all of our information that's encrypted and everything that we think is secure, that means that it will be broken very quickly, very easily by this computing power. But what's happening is the industry has been preparing. And this year, NIST, the NIST framework in the US, they've issued three new quantum computing protocols. for encryption. So those are being rolled out, and they will be adopted over the coming years. What can people really do though, until that happens, is take stock of what you've got. So what have you got that's encrypted? If you've got websites, what certificates have you got? Make an inventory, make a list. And what this will do is it will allow you to be ready when the change comes and when we need to start implementing it. When the new protocols are available for use, you'll have your list that you can then respond with. Because if you don't know, I mean, different organizations, companies have assets that they don't know about, and they have websites they don't know about, and they have certificates. So if you have a list, make a list, take stock, make a list, check it twice.
Exactly. It's all about the preparation. That's brilliant. And Michelle, we can't let you go without asking you about B-Sides Belfast, of course. You co-founded, pardon me, and are the director of B-Sides Belfast. Can you tell us about what inspired B-Sides Belfast and its aims and objectives as well?
Yeah. So I love the B-Sides story. So, you know, with old records, you have you would have typically, or maybe still do, have like an A-side track,
of course,
and then a B-side track, which is like the extras. What happened was in 2009. So most people will know of big Black Hat conference in Las Vegas that happens every year. In 2009, they had too many talks that they didn't have enough room for. So they had these brilliant speakers in town that were willing to speak, and they didn't have room to host them. So they decided to have a B-side conference. And the aim was very much to make it really accessible, to have it that it was like community focused. I think it was a free conference. You know, they had these brilliant speakers, and people could come along and come to this who weren't able to get tickets or afford the Black Hat conference. And it's really opening up the dialogue, the conversation around what the big things are coming, what are the big technical challenges, all of this kind of stuff, all the latest in security. So the ethos is absolutely fantastic, and we founded B-Sides Belfast in 2016. And it was a hit from the get-go, but the first year we had 150 people in the Europa Hotel, and the following year it was, I think, 250 and then 350. And then we had COVID, so we had a bit of a hiatus. And then jokingly, I say it was like people were coming at us with pitchforks. we want it back.
Exactly.
But it was kind of a little bit like, bring it back or we'll do it ourselves. So we came back last year in 2023 with, I think, over 500 people again back in Europa. And then we had it again this year in September with about 600. And honestly, it is, I love it. It is the best day. It's a community conference. It's essentially free. There is a £10 ticket price, but that's just to manage no-shows, and we offer free ticket if people need it. It's completely voluntary led. So nobody, you know, it's a community voluntary organization. We all put in a lot of work all year round to make it happen, but it's so worth it. On the day, it's paid for by sponsors. We've got brilliant sponsors, local companies and international companies in security that come along. We've had so many brilliant people come, you know, attending it, with brilliant talks, brilliant speakers, and we had a load of different event things. We had a capture the flag event on during the day, and there's the battle bots, which is great, which is where you get to go and play with remote control robots and get them to kill each other. It's great fun. We had Farsight Labs had a 3D printing facility there as well, and there's just so much going on. There was such a buzz and an atmosphere everybody enjoyed it, and an essential after party at the end to just wind down.
Exactly to decompress. And who is the event sort of open to? It's sort of just open to everybody, isn't it? It's so accessible in that way.
Yeah, we typically have, so we try to run it midweek for a lot of people that want to go as part of their work. It's open to organizations, individuals. You buy your own ticket. Tickets sell out fast. So what, we got people to keep an eye on the socials for those. But I think most people, I think, got to go this year. We've increased our numbers every year, so I think it's always really well attended. But I think we haven't really made the move to school level yet. I think because some of the topics can be quite advanced, and just for child safety reasons, it brings in a whole level of complexity. We're not ready to go there yet. But, but we can partner. We would look at partnering with other events and things like that. We're very, very community led. The community in Belfast is just fantastic. Like, we've got huge industry of development, and now a huge industry and a centre of excellence with CSIT and Queen's, in cybersecurity. So, and all the university courses and the apprenticeships and things like that. So, onwards and upwards.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Belfast is just such a thriving hub for sort of tech, and it's great to see that sort of, you mentioned that sort of community spirit behind it as well, and everyone is sort of, looking out for each other and wants to see each other do well as well. I think that really comes across.
Yeah, definitely. Like, when I moved up in 2014, there wasn't anything. So now there's the OWASP, there's B-Sides, there's the InfoSec NI is a much more frequent meetup, and they do lockpicking, I think, every month, and things like that. So there's loads going on. It's fantastic.
That's brilliant.
And apologies to anybody I've missed.
No, not at all. And if any of our readers or listeners want to find out more about B-Sides Belfast, they can just visit the website, and you're across all the socials as well, isn't that right?
Yeah, bsidesbelfast.org, and on LinkedIn, X, and Instagram as well.
Perfect. Brilliant. That's awesome. And finally, we're on to our final question. Just bringing it back to encouraging more women to pursue a career in technology. If you could give advice to female students considering embarking on a career in tech, what 3 pieces of advice would you give them?
Do it. Try it. Just try it. Like I said, there's all those free resources online. Try it. So search for resources. Try it and ask questions. It's definitely something that I didn't do early enough. Ask questions. Find people that will answer. If you don't get a satisfactory answer, move on and ask somebody else, because it's not, if you don't understand something, it's less likely to be your issue and more that the person explaining it isn't explaining it clearly enough. So ask.
Exactly. And it's all about sort of just gaining that experience as well, isn't it? If you've an interest in something, sort of do pursue it in your sort of free time and things like that, with all of the brilliant sort of free online resources.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Michelle. It's been a pleasure to speak with you. That's it from us, from Sync NI, for this week. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
That's it for this week's episode of the Tech Craic Podcast. Be sure to follow Sync NI across our socials for more. Thanks for listening. Bye.